Salutations everyone, welcome to another Overwatch 2 beta video. Here today we're going to be talking about the state of healers in Overwatch 2 in the closed beta, as it were. Hopefully in the next beta there will be another healer that we will be able to talk about, and that'll be very exciting. So, healers, a lot of people would say, got the short end of the stick here in Overwatch 2. We only got one tank to heal, so we're not getting as much charge. We're actually getting less charge for healing the one tank we do have. Flankers are super duper strong. There's no one's gonna peel for us, and you know, we're getting farmed. All of the DPS characters that are great at destroying backlines are even better here in Overwatch 2. So what do we have? How are things truly in, you know, diamond and below games where I like to operate? And are things as bad as people say? Are things getting better? What should we be doing? So it's no secret that healers are a lot more vulnerable in Overwatch 2. And some people have said that like support players have picked up some bad habits in Overwatch 1. Playing Overwatch 1 correctly doesn't mean that you're picking up bad habits, because Overwatch 2, it's a completely different game. You're going to have to play it differently. Sure, some things might have been good in Overwatch 1 that weren't good in Overwatch 2, but that doesn't mean they were bad habits. It just means you have to kind of change things up a little bit. And certainly so. Because of the way that the fights have changed, I mentioned this in my tank video, and you feel it in every single role. It's just the fact that there's one tank kind of makes you reevaluate where you should be putting all of your effort, right? So as a healer, we only have one tank to heal. Do we just pump all the healing into that tank? Obviously, we're going to have to, you know, help out our DPS. And now that we have the heal passive, we don't have to use as many cooldowns on ourselves or be totally dead once our teammate healer gets wiped out. And it's like, well, shit, you know, I'm weak and I'm trying to keep our tank up, our other healer's dead. There's nothing I can do. I'm so diveable, and then boom, you get hit by a single shuriken or a rocket, or you get just headshot by anything and you're dead. No longer the case. The healing passive is really nice. It's great for Ana because you don't have to use the nade on yourself nearly as much as you did in the past. I mean, you'll still obviously have to use it sometimes. And then other times it's just a calculation and be like, do I think I'll live long enough to where the healing's going to kick in, or should I just throw the nade now? So, you know, obviously there's going to be a lot of things that aren't going to be super duper changed. But and let's start with Ana, because she's my favorite healer to play. She's the healer that I have the most time on. I mean, she's my most played character in Overwatch 1. And ooh, look at that sleep! Ending that Sigma's ult and ending his life. That's some good stuff right there. That's some good stuff. I think that's the most satisfying sleep dart to hit. I mean, I've hit plenty of Genji blades, and nano Genji blades are especially nice because you're nullifying 2 ults. But hitting a Sigma ulting I feel like that's the hardest one to do. Out of all the ult canceling that you can do with the sleep dart. And the sleep dart got a nerf. The cooldown went from 12 to 15 seconds, I believe it was. And you understand that, you know, it's one of the few CCs that they kept in the game. They did mention very early on, when they said that they were going to reevaluate some CC, that they were going to keep Ana's because they felt like it was a skill shot and it was rewarding. And I think that's really good. I love having the sleep dart. I don't know what we would do without it, and it's very powerful. Ana's kit is much more impactful in Overwatch 2 with the absence of half of the tanks, and that's the reason why her dart got nerfed and her bio nade also got nerfed. In the beta patch, they have the anti-effect last much less longer. I think it's like 3 seconds instead of 5. I think that's what it was, but it's definitely something that you feel. You can understand why they made that change, and I don't have a huge problem with either of the nerfs given to Ana. Now, she is a character that we're used to having in the back, and pumping in a bunch of healing. But I mean, we've all watched ML7, and I like being an offensive Ana. Your best nades are offensive nades. The only times I'm going to use defensive nade is if we are low on resources, and I say I have to reload, and the tank is low. I'll chuck the nade on him. If we're stuck in a grav, I'm throwing that nade and trying to keep as many people up as possible. But most of your nades are going to be offensive nades, just like in Overwatch 1. Really, really great. Good for dealing, especially with your Roadhogs. And it's always going to be good on hitting any of the enemy tanks. And especially since only 3 of them have shields, and, you know, 2 of them aren't really that popular. Things are Bionade City for you. And obviously we've all seen what Overwatch League Ana players can do with that dart, stopping enemies dead in their tracks a lot. So Ana plays very much the same. I think she's good. I think she's strong. And she's skillful. She's not too easy to use, and she's not too strong. So I think she's in a good spot. Mercy, I think, is the most underrated healer, possibly. I mean, Zen obviously got a buff, and everybody changed their tune around how good Zen is after that. But we'll get that when we talk to Zen. Mercy, I think, has always been the most underrated healer in all of Overwatch, just because she's easy to play. And I understand why people say that, and I understand why so many people gravitate towards Mercy. But Mercy is the healer that I have the hardest time playing. She is the most... If I have to play a healer, I will play Mercy if it calls for it. Say my teammate picks Ana and we're on Junkertown defense. I think Mercy's a really, really good pick there. So I'll usually pick her if that is the case. And obviously when she was super meta, I played her almost all the time. But like my win percentage with Mercy is the lowest on all of the healers, and I don't have all the Mercy tech in the world, and I'm not great at Mercy. And I didn't play a ton of Mercy in the beta, but I had plenty of Mercy teammates. And Mercy in Overwatch 2 as well as Overwatch 1, she can really carry a fight. And she can enable a lot of team comps that other healers cannot enable. You running a Doomfist, and your Mercy, and the enemy's running something else, even if it is also a Doomfist, and they are not running Mercy, you're going to have a pretty good time. You're going to have a pretty good time. Mercy's ability to pocket a tank is super duper strong. Her mobility and her self-healing obviously is double that of everybody else's, so her survivability is really good. And we all know how powerful survivability is in this game, where a lot of people consider Moira and Lucio the strongest healers, and I think that's true. I think those are probably the 2 best support characters in the game, but I would have to put Mercy in that same category. If we're talking about the bottom 96% of players, Diamond and below, Mercy belongs in the same tier 1 up there. She's really good. She could carry a fight. She's hard to kill. And I've said that Flyers are really strong, and if Flyers are strong, Mercy's going to be strong. And damage boost is more powerful because a pick means more and a res means more. So let's not forget that. 2 of the biggest, most unique parts of her kit are super, super more powerful in Overwatch 2 than Overwatch 1. Lucio, everyone's been talking about Lucio. You know, he was the best healer at the beginning of Overwatch 1, especially when the league started and dive was the shit. Lucio was the bomb diggity. Everyone ran Lucio. He was the most picked support, I think, for like the first 2 seasons of Overwatch League. And Lucio, with his evade ability, the self-heal, not requiring him to use the heal aura as much, that did obviously get nerfed. I think deservedly so. Again, so that's another support nerf I think was totally justified. But your DPS Lucios and DPS Moiras, they're having a field day here in Overwatch 2, and it's not difficult to see why, because of how skirmishy things are. how great those two characters are at dueling. And Lucio hasn't been super great in the Diamond and below for a while, so it's fun to get back on the sticks and play Lucio, the hockey sticks, as it were. It's fun, and he can dive people, he can finish people off. He's really good at dueling your more stationary targets, whether they be healer or DPS. He can definitely hold his own, and obviously his ability to taxi with speed boost is still something that's none of the other healers have any comparable job of executing. So I think until we get a new healer in the game that's really strong, or the meta shifts, whether it be, you know, what tanks are good, the Lucio will maintain his spot as being one of the most dominant healers in all levels of the game. But he's not without his follies. You can't just pick up Lucio like you could any other character. He's not super easy to use, but once you get his movement going and you're starting to take some duels and they can't kill you, people might not have thought of Lucio as a main healer before, or really, you know, a couple of the healers in this game, but they're all main healers now, just due to the fact that survivability is such a huge thing, and Discord Orb is such a more valuable thing when it comes to a lot of the tank matchups, that your Zens and your Lucios and your Briggs, characters that aren't known for getting the most heals on the team, can easily get the most heals on the team because they're surviving and they're just outputting healing because their team is winning. And so to talk about Zen, obviously he was super duper vulnerable, you know, especially to Sombras. I mean, always against Sombras, right? He got the buff. He got the boop kick, and that was a pretty big and the health buff as well. And after that, a lot of people were changing their tune on Zen. And since that buff, I saw multiple Zens on my team that led the team in damage. They led the team in limbs. Like, they were the carry DPS, was the Zenyatta. And I also have a Zenyatta gameplay where I have more damage, and I don't think about a limbs. I think I have more damage than both DPS, just only second to the main tank. Or the tank, I should say. So Zen is really good now. His ability to self-peel with that boop, and that boop is so strong. We've seen environmental kills even against tanks like Reinhardt, which, you know, they get a lot more boop resistance. It's a pretty decent boop. It's really good, that Sparta kick. And with so few shields in this game, I mean, I feel like the only shield character that even is good against Zen might be Reinhardt, because Winston's shield, while it is pretty strong, he's not going to be in it all the time. Whether it becomes, you know, before he deploys it or after he deploys it, in the middle of a fight, after, you know, a fight, you know, starts to dwindle down, that Discord Orb on Winston can make a giant difference. Orisa gets shredded by Zenyatta with that Discord Orb. And I feel like Doomfist falls to the wayside as well. While Wrecking Ball isn't going to be as easy to hit, even if he is discorded, it's going to help out a little bit. And since Wrecking Ball will be the only tank on the field, he's not doing as well as he did in Overwatch 2. I mean, all they did was unnerf his boop power, and that's it. So I think maybe Wrecking Ball might need a little bit more help. But Zenyatta, he got all the help he needed. He's doing great. He's fun, and Zen, I would say, is my third most used support character. Maybe he's second, just because, you know, Moira was added much later. And so I'm totally fine with Zen being good. I'm totally great with Lucio being good, and obviously I have most of my playtime on Ana, so I'm happy that she is still useful. And Brig is surprisingly good. She lost her stun, but that damage and the little bit of knockback that she gets with her shield bash now, it feels great. I don't feel like she's too weak at the lower levels as she was before, and she's not as strong as she was at the higher levels. So I think she's in a great place. You don't have to worry as much about the map pick, because before, like right now, or like the last year, I've only played Brig in like 2 maps because I feel like in an uncoordinated team fight in the bottom 96%, she's just not very good. She's what she's strong against isn't being played, and teams are not utilizing her strengths just because she's going to need a little bit more team coordination to get a lot of her value. But she's strong. I don't feel like she's too strong. I don't feel like she's too weak. She's not going to be great on, you know, probably at least half of the maps. But she's a good babysitter. She still has some boop ability with her whip shot. And she can keep her shield up a lot more now. It behooves her to, because now she has that healing passive. She doesn't need to trigger Inspire in order to heal herself. So she's going to have more uptime. And I think she's really good. She's not getting too many kills. She's not healing too much, but she's also not too vulnerable. So I feel like all the healers are in a pretty good spot right now. I don't feel like I have to talk a lot about Moira, but Moira's kind of fucking insane. She really is. Her dual capability, the lower and lower in ELO you go, the better and better she is, because she'll just outduel every single DPS in the game. She just has that ability. You know, damage orb and healing orb, they both have their use in a duel, and you don't even necessarily even need to pick the right one in the right situation, because she's got that fade away ability. She can get some height off of it. So she's going to be alive a lot longer. She can heal like crazy. She still will output the most heals, and she can output the most damage. So before, you could have gold heals and gold damage and gold limbs as Moira and still lose pretty handily. But in Overwatch 2, if you're doing that, you're winning pretty handily. So while she doesn't have as much utility as some of the other characters, to where even though she has great raw stats in Overwatch 1, she's not necessarily a good pick, I think, the vast majority of the time, even if you are doing a ton of heals and a ton of damage. That is way more valued in Overwatch 2. So DPS Moiras were a troll thing before. They were like a meme, and now they're kind of the meta. So, oh, and I almost forgot to mention Baptiste. Very similar to how he plays in Overwatch 1, where he's good and where he's not. So if you're hunkered down with the Orisa or Reinhardt, he's great. He's, you know, really, really good at the poke. So if they do have a shield, you can help poke it down. If they don't, you're going to get a lot more damage than probably any other DPS outside of Moira. He's just kind of all right. He doesn't stand out. He's super duper survivable. He's hard to nail down. That booster jets can get you out of dodge just long enough for your healing passive to go off. And the buff to his AoE heal, instantly doing that healing, is a big buff and helps him out a lot. So I think he's in a good spot as well. Yeah, healers, I think they're in a pretty good spot right now. The only issue is we need more of them, and they're coming.